Hello, and welcome to the ECA webinar, Rich IT New Functionalities. My name is Eduardo Lopez, and I'm part of the Rich IT Product Management team. Today, with my colleagues Thomas Aitasalo and Reka Batalla, we are going to show you the last functionalities implemented in Rich IT. First, we will start with a summary of the functionalities that we implemented in last year. Later, my colleagues will go into the details of the new two functionalities that has been implemented in the last release: new information in the co-registrant page and the dossier evaluation status. And of course, we'll have time to answer your questions. Here you can see the agenda for today. To ask questions, please join to the Q&A panel at slido.com using the event code HIT21. You can ask questions to the speakers or to other panelists until 1 p.m. Helsinki time. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. However, we urge you to limit the questions to the scope of today's webinar. If you have any questions after the event, you can of course contact us using our contact forms using the link visible on the screen. All the material presented today will be published on the webinar page, including the video recording, the presentations, and the Q&A transcription. Let me start already with the overview of what we did last year. I will present what are the improvements areas defined in HIT. Then I will review what has been the major features implemented last year, and then what can you expect from HIT next year. In HIT, we have identified 4 areas of improvements. We want to improve the information that we are displaying. We want to improve also the submission experience, have a multi-directional communication with the users, and also have other technical improvements. In this table, you can see the major features implemented in each of the releases during last year. Let me start with the changes in the joint application for authorization. As you know, in this feature, a group of companies can submit together their application for authorization. One of the members, the lead, has to create and submit the application through Rich IT. He has to provide the information about the use, scope, and the running supply chains of all the companies. Once he has finished the submissions, a security token is going to be generated. The lead has to share this token with all the members. Each of the members needs to log in HIT using this token and do the mapping of the substance and provide the additional information about the scope and the role in the supply chains. Once all the members has added the information, the lead has to review the information and complete the process. Once he does, the application is locked and it cannot be edited anymore, and it goes for further processing ECA. In the screenshot, you can see the co-applicant page, where the user can see its own application and also the scope of the joint applicant and the uses in the bottom of the page. The improvements that it brings is that now all the information is in one place instead of being in different web forms that as we have in the past. Also, all the information is searchable. With that one, all the process is more streamlined and more user-friendly. If you want to have more information, please see also the links. Regarding the joint submissions, we have implemented a new data correction workflow that allows ECA, upon request, to modify the substance identity of the joint submission. In the past, a new joint submission needs to be created, and all the registrants has to migrate their dossiers to a new joint submission and abandon the original one. Now is not the case any longer. That means that companies are going to have less administration work. And also HIT is going to have more clear database, as we are not going to have more abandoned joint submissions. We have implemented also the status of the joint submission. It can be active or closed. A joint submission is going to remain active as soon as the lead submits the lead dossier and pass the business rules. However, if the lead doesn't submit the lead dossier in 3 months, the joint submission is going to be closed automatically to avoid blocking the market access to other companies. HIT allows the creation of new joint submission for the same substance if the previous is closed. It's not possible to do any other submissions for a closed joint submission, including updates. However, if a member of the joint submission has submitted already its dossier and the joint submission is closed, this dossier is not lost. He can do a spontaneous update in the new joint submission, and then everything will be migrated. The deadline information is going to show up during the creation of the joint submission, but also in the details of the joint submission. Once that the lead has submitted the lead dossier, it is not going to display any longer, as the joint submission is going to remain active. In addition to that one, we have implemented more information to increase the transparency. Now we are showing which members are using the ECA token. Also, we have added the status for the registrations. So you can see if a member is active or inactive, or maybe if he has migrated to another joint submission. Also, you can see when the lead has submitted the last dossier. And this year, we are going to implement what is the scope of this update. We have implemented also a list of new messages to all the members of the joint submission. Here, you can see the list. We have implemented also new export functionalities. Now, there is more joint submission information available to be exported. Here, you can see some of them. Also, the member details of all joint submissions can submit it only in one click. Before, you have to go to each of the joint submissions and download the member details. In addition, the contact details are split in columns, making it more easy to handle. We have implemented also new functionality to download the joint submission scope. Here, you can see the two new buttons that has been implemented in the joint submission search page, and instead of the joint submission, to export the scope of the joint submission. What can you expect from HIT during this year? We'll keep developing the joint submission. We want to have more information available for all the members. As I mentioned before, the reason for the updating the lead dossier, or we'll extend the dossier evaluation status information. There is more information coming that it will be communicated via the HIT channels. We are going to migrate the bulk CNL notifications to the individual submissions. As you remember, until 2016, it was possible to submit in bulk CNL notifications without a Euclid dossier. With this new feature, we provide the same user experience as a standard CNL notification submitted with a Euclid dossier. And you will have access to all the related data, which is not the case currently. We will implement also system-to-system for CNL notifications, and we have it already in ECA for other IT tools like Skip or Poison Center. That means that you can create in your own system a CNL dossier using Euclid format. Once you have it ready, you can submit directly to HIT using a system-to-system key. That was everything from my side. Thanks for your attention, and now I give you the floor to Thomas.
Hello everyone, and welcome also from my part to this webinar. My name is Tuomas Aitasalo, and I will present you the new study section we have introduced to the co-registrants page. This section is relevant for data sharing, especially when a potential registrant has submitted an inquiry for a substance it intends to register. There is, in essence, two articles of REACH, 25 and 26, which are relevant for this presentation, and I will summarize the content of these articles on this slide and on the next one. The Article 25.3 says that study summaries or robust study summaries submitted at least 12 years previously in the context of REACH can be used for purposes of registration by other manufacturer or importer. This means that in the context of data sharing negotiations, the data submitter should not claim compensation from the potential registrant or other previous registrants for those study summaries or robust study summaries which have been submitted more than 12 years earlier. Article 26.1 and 3 says that when a company wants to register a substance for which they do not have a registration, they need to submit an inquiry to ECHA. If there is previous registrants for the substance, ECHA needs to communicate to the potential registrants the names and contact details of the previous registrants and the endpoints for which they have submitted studies. Earlier, ECHA provided information specified in Articles 25 and 26 as part of the communication of inquiry result. But now this information can be found from a new section called Studies, which is available on co-registrants page in ReachIT. I will next show you what kind of information inquirer can find from the co-registrants page. When an inquiry dossier has passed all the checks in the ECHA's IT system, the inquirer receives a message with subject "Assessment result of your inquiry is available." This message contains information about the inquiry submission and a link to the co-registrants page. On the co-registrants page, the inquirer can find information about the previous registrants and about the other potential registrants. In the end of the page, there is now a new section called Studies. Clicking the heading Studies opens a list of endpoints for which studies have been submitted for this particular substance. Clicking an endpoint opens a new section where there is two subsections which are named as studies submitted less than 12 years ago and studies submitted at least 12 years ago. The section referring to the studies submitted less than 12 years ago shows names and contact details of the companies who have submitted studies less than 12 years ago to fulfill this specific endpoint. The section referring to the studies submitted at least 12 years ago, in addition to the names and contact details of the study submitters, shows also UUIDs of the study summaries or robust study summaries which have been submitted more than 12 years earlier. With this information, a potential registrant can initiate the data sharing negotiations with the previous registrants. All the companies who have access to the co-registrant page have also access to the studies section, and therefore this section is expected to be helpful for both the potential and previous registrants. The UUIDs of the study summaries or robust study summaries help the parties to identify the study summaries or robust study summaries which have been submitted more than 12 years earlier. If a study summary or robust study summary submitted at least 12 years earlier is part of the data package which the potential registrant purchases to fulfill their data requirements under REACH, the previous registrant should not claim compensation from the potential registrant for that study summary or robust study summary. Finally, please note that ECHA is never a party in the data sharing negotiations, and it is solely the responsibility of the parties to discuss on the quality and selection of the data to fulfill the data requirements. So to summarize, when new studies section on the co-registrant page in Reach IT contains name and contact details of study submitters for each endpoint, and if the study summaries have been submitted less than 12 years earlier or more than 12 years earlier. In addition, the UUIDs of the study summaries or robust study summaries submitted more than 12 years earlier are displayed. The information on the co-registrants page should allow the potential registrant to initiate the data sharing negotiations. If the study summaries or robust study summaries submitted more than 12 years earlier are part of the data package the potential registrant is purchasing to fulfill their data requirements under REACH, the previous registrant should not claim compensation for those study summaries. Finally, ECHA is never a party in the data sharing negotiations. Thank you.
Hello, this is Reika Vataja. I work in the Hazard Assessment Directorate, and today I will present you the new section on the joint submission page, providing information on ongoing and past dossier evaluations concerning any of the joint submission members. First, I will give you a demo of the new functionality. We will check where you can find the new ECHA dossier evaluation status section on the joint submission page. From there, we will open and check the overview page for few dossier evaluations. And in meantime, I will explain to you how to read the information displayed. After this, I will share with you the new features to be still implemented in one of the upcoming Reach IT releases. Finally, I will close my presentation by sharing the advantages we hope this new development will bring to you, such as easy access to information and transparency. Let's begin with the ECHA dossier evaluation status section. I opened one of the joint submissions I belong to, and now I am at the bottom of the joint submission overview page, where also the scope and the members of the joint submission can be checked. Here, under the members of the joint submission, there is a new section available called Dossier Evaluation Status, and by expanding it, you can see all the ongoing and past compliance checks and examination of testing proposals that concern the joint submission, including the ones for the opt-out members. From here, you can find out whether ECHA has started to evaluate dossiers for your substance, and you can follow the progress through the evaluation process. It's important to note that the dossier evaluation for an individual registrant for the same EC number won't be displayed in this section, and for an individual registrant, this functionality and information is not available. However, as an individual registrant, you can still rely on ECHA's dossier evaluation status webpage. From the table, you can find out the dossier evaluation type. CCH refers to compliance check evaluation, and TPE to testing proposal evaluation. The start date, the date when ECHA has initiated the dossier evaluation process, and the current status of the dossier evaluation process. If it's under assessment, it means that the evaluation of the dossier has formally started. If it's ongoing, it means that the registrants have received the draft decision. The status will show ongoing until the decision is adopted or the evaluation is otherwise concluded. If the status is information requested, the registrants have received the adopted decision with the deadline to provide the information requested. If it's in follow-up, it means that the deadline set in the adopted decision has passed, and ECHA is assessing whether the information requested has been provided in the dossier update. And finally, if the status is concluded, it means the evaluation is closed. In most cases, this means that the registrant has responded to the adopted decision with compliant information. The statuses displayed here are identical to the one displayed on ECHA's Dossier's Evaluation Status webpage, so you might be already familiar with it. But if you need a reminder about what the different statuses mean, you can check from the help text by clicking on the question mark here. A short explanation is also included for the other two columns. You can find them here. Now let's move on the dossier evaluation overview page. The overview page gives further information on a dossier evaluation, and it can be opened by clicking on the status of the dossier evaluation. Now I open the overview page for this compliance check, which is in follow-up status, and first we check what information is available on the page. On the left side, you find the substance information, including the name, EC number, and case number. Next to it, the dossier evaluation type and start date is displayed. On the right side, you find the dossier evaluation processing steps. Each processing step represents the status in which a dossier evaluation process can be and can contain further information. This arrow pointing down indicates that the item can be expanded. The orange color indicates the step in progress, which in our case is the follow-up, and it's the same as the status of the case. The green color indicates that the steps were already completed, and the gray color indicates that it has not started yet. Under the dossier evaluation processing steps, you can find the additional information field, which serves to display different type of information, like reason why a case was concluded without a decision, or appeal-related information, to help us to get a better understanding on the specific dossier evaluation process. Not all of the cases have additional information, as you can see from this example. Now let's check what information is available under each processing step. By expanding the Under Assessment step, a sentence is displayed saying the evaluation of the dossier has formally started. Let's check now what information is available after the registrants have received the draft decision under the Ongoing step. The information requirements included in the draft decision, the corresponding REACH annex, and section are displayed. The processing step remains until the decision is adopted or the evaluation is otherwise concluded. In our example, the decision is already adopted, as the step is marked as completed. Under the Information Requested step, the information requirements listed in the adopted decision, the corresponding REACH annex and section are displayed. You can also compare whether any of the information requirements requested in the draft decision were removed in the adopted decision. This processing step remains until the deadline set in the adopted decision has passed. In this example, it has passed as the step is marked completed. Now let's have a look on what is displayed under the follow-up step. Here, additionally to the information requirements listed in the adopted decision and the related annex and section, the deadline to provide the information is also available, and for each information requirement, a status indicator is assigned. It's important to note that the information requests are displayed under this step only after the deadline set in the adopted decision has passed. As you can see, there are 3 status indicators and each of them have a different meaning. The information requirements appear with a gray gear once the deadline set in the adopted decision has expired, and it means that ECHO assesses whether the information requested in the decision has been provided in the dossier update. If the data is provided for all the information requests with the same deadline, the status indicator will change to this green tick. The related document you receive is the Article 42.2 notification. If the data is not provided by the deadline, or the data is provided by the deadline, but not sufficient for one or several information requests, the status will change to this yellow exclamation mark. The related document you receive can be a failure to respond notification or a new decision according to Article 42.1. As soon as the data is provided, the exclamation mark will be replaced by this green tick. After the data is provided for all the information requests from the adopted decision, the status of the dossier evaluation will change to concluded, and accordingly the concluded processing step will be marked as completed. But now let's check the overview page also for the dossier evaluation with a concluded status. If you want to go back to the joint submission page, instead of using the browser's back button, you can just click here on the joint submission name. Now I open this compliance check with concluded status. This looks a little bit different compared to the previous example because even though the dossier evaluation was concluded, some steps are marked with blue and they are not expandable. The blue color means the step is not applicable. Based on what we see here, we can read the history of the dossier evaluation. ECHO has performed an assessment, issued a draft decision, and after that closed the dossier evaluation. From the additional information field, we can find out why ECHO has stopped the assessment. The reason for this in this example is that the registrant ceased manufacture. Most of the cases would go through all the steps, and the concluded status would indicate that the registrant has responded to the adopted decision with compliant information. But as you just have seen it, there are several scenarios, and even though we haven't covered all of them, I hope by following this demo you've got a better understanding how to interpret the information on the overview page. If any time you want to review what the different steps and icons mean, please check the help text, which you can open by clicking on this icon here in the right up corner. On the next few slides, I will share some additional scenarios that you may encounter. Thus, it's good to be aware of them, and I will give you a summary about the different icons used on the overview page. First, let's go through on the icons used on the overview page and their meaning. For the dossier evaluation processing steps, these 4 icons are used. The green circle with the tick next to it means that the step is completed. The yellow circle with the gear next to it means that the step is in progress, and this corresponds with the overall status of the dossier evaluation. If the circle is gray, it means that the step has not started yet, and if it's blue, it means that the step is not applicable. For the individual information request under the follow-up step, there are 3 icons used. The gray gear icon appears once the deadline from the adopted decision has expired. and it means that ECHA assesses whether the information requested has been provided in the dossier update. The exclamation mark means that the data was not provided by the deadline, or the data was provided by the deadline, but not sufficient for one or several information requests. This is something important to remember, because if the data was provided only for one or several information requests, they will be also marked with exclamation mark until all the information requests are provided with the same deadline. And finally, the green tick means that the data was provided for all the information requests with the same deadline. As already mentioned during the demo, from some of the cases in the additional information field, there will be extra information displayed in order to get a better understanding on the dossier evaluation process, like reason for termination, appeal-related information, or if a dossier evaluation is open due to Article 42.1, it is also added here. Here you can see two additional examples. From the first example, we become aware that the dossier evaluation was concluded without a decision, while from the second example, we can see that there is an ongoing appeal, and it's also specified which requests are suspended due to the pending Board of Appeal decision. When new information becomes available, like the appeal outcome, the field gets updated with it. For some dossier evaluations, you might see information requests display under the follow-up, even though the overall status is still information requested, as you see it in the example. The reason for this is that the dossier evaluation status remains information requested until the latest deadline set in the adopted decision has passed. However, the user can already check the status of the information requirements for which the deadline has passed. For TP cases, it can happen that you don't see any status, as shown on the first screenshot. And the reason for this is that the start date typically refers to the day when ECHA received the testing proposal. However, just for your information, the dossier evaluation will not appear immediately after you have submitted your testing proposal, as ECHA first needs to assess the substance identity. But as soon as ECHA formally starts the evaluation of the dossiers, the status will be updated to under assessment. If there haven't been any dossier evaluations concerning the joint submission, a text saying "No result found" will be displayed when the section is open, as you can see it on the second screenshot. If there is a system error, the text displayed will be "Unable to retrieve information, please try again later." In that case, please revisit the page next day. You most probably already saw this warning text on the overview page during the demo. The reason why this text was added is that you might encounter dossier evaluations for which the list of studies requested displayed do not match the list of studies from the decision. Due to the migration done for the dossier evaluations we had over 10 years' time, there might be migration errors. If you have such a case, please rely on the draft and adopted decision you received. You can also contact us via ECHA Help Desk and we correct the information. Now I will share with you the two features to be still implemented in one of the upcoming REACH IT releases. One of the features is the automatic notification when ECHA has initiated a compliance check. Registrants with an active and full registration will receive automatically a REACH IT message when a compliance check has been initiated, including both members of joint submission and individual registrants. It's independent from the list of addresses that will eventually receive a draft decision, as at this stage is not known yet. Currently, these notifications are sent out by ECHA in batches around once a month, and by having this automation, registrants will immediately know when ECHA has started to work on a compliance check that concerns a substance they have registered. The other feature is to publish the list of recipients on the dossier evaluation overview page when the draft decision is sent out, and later on to refresh it when the final decision is sent out. The format of the table will be the same as in the decisions appendix, containing the addresses of the decision. It will include the registrant name, registration number, and their data requirements at the same time the draft decision was issued. Finally, I would like to share with you the advantages we see this development will bring to you. Easy access to useful information regarding ongoing and past dossier evaluations, including the list of studies requested in the draft and adopted decision and their recipients, the status of the requested studies after the assessment, and if relevant, additional information on the process, like reason why the dossier evaluation was concluded without adopted decision or appeal-related information. The other advantage is increased transparency within the joint submission by providing all members information on dossier evaluations concerning other joint submission members, example opt-outs, higher tonnage bands, and on dossier evaluations that have started before a registrant joined the joint submission. Additionally, REACH-IT will instantly notify you about the compliance check started for a substance you have registered so that you can check that your registration is up to date. As you most probably know by now, the requests in ECHA's dossier evaluations decisions are based on the data submitted, the tonnage band, and use information indicated in the registration dossier at the time the draft decision was issued. Once the draft decision has been issued and the decision-making process has been started, ECHA does not consider dossier updates. With this, I would like to thank you for your attention.